going on, YouTube? How's it going? It's been a little bit since I did my last video, but it's because I just keep getting stuff and I just want to, be able to talk about it. So I'm at a point where I think I can do that. There's still stuff coming, but yeah. So what are we listening to in the background here? This is my friend Tom. Tom Prime. Time to Die. He does weird experimental kind of folk. It's quite dark and sometimes pretty funny. He's awesome. He's one of my best friends. Tom Prime. Pretty pro tape. Brought out on a label of one of my other good friends. What's the label again? Tedious Medium, because he does tapes. So it's Tedious Medium. Yeah, Tom. Awesome stuff. So that's what's in the background. So this is a record that I had left. I showed in my last video, but I hadn't listened to it much, so I'm gonna start off here. Death, Individual Thought Patterns. Has it grown on me? A little bit. I like it more than when I first spun it. Very progressive, which I'm into. I like these write-ups that you get on a lot of reissues, thoughts on the record and stuff by the band members. Still not my favorite. Still probably gonna hit me better later on because I haven't spun it much recently, and I think I'm in the mood for it. So, yeah, I'll be listening to this one a little more soon, I think. I like it more. Yeah, I'm still coming around to liking Death. It's weird. They're such a popular death metal band, such a key death metal band, and it's just not my favorite. Even Leprosy and stuff, it's okay, it's good, but I'd rather listen to Cannibal Corpse or pretty much any day. But yeah, I'm still listening. I really liked Symbolic. Symbolic was something I had in high school. I don't have it anymore. I used to have a CD of it, and that's a good record. But yeah, I'll be spinning this again. It's good to have in the collection. So then, next one up, local record store buy. Pretty, I don't know, I haven't spun it a ton, but I like it. And it's Caustic Wound, Death Posture. It's a good record. I saw Devin show it. It's grind. It's like grind death. Kind of carcassy worship, but more modern. Production on it is not unlike a lot of other modern stuff. It's kind of overblown and stuff, but these guys do it pretty good. And there's members of members of Mortiferum and Cerebral Rot, and they're doing just more of a grind death metal instead of their death doom kind of stuff that they do in Mortiferum. And I don't know Cerebral Rot really, but I think it's more of just a death metal band. But yeah, it's good stuff. It's quite layered. It's carcass worship. You can tell. But if you're in the mood for it, it slays. It's pretty awesome. Okay. And in the vein of those guys, I also picked up the new Mortiferum. And I have the EP from a couple years ago too. Their first one. This is their first full length. And this is a wicked record. It's really swampy. But the recording on it is different in places. It's not the same sonically throughout the whole record, which I think is really cool. So the name of this record is Disgorged from Psychotic Depths. And yeah, Funeral Hallucinations is a really cool song. I've heard people talk about this record and credit a lot of its goodness to just its production. But there's a lot of creativity that goes into this production. It's the band, it's how they work. And I think they're a great band, actually. Wicked death doom. Mortiferum. I'll be picking up their next one. It's good stuff. That logo, it's there's this whole group of bands that have these like indecipherable logos. Like I can see how it says Mortiferum in there, but it takes a trained eye. It's like Blood Incantation. I still can't see Blood Incantation really in Blood Incantation. So that's a good record. Okay, moving on. Incantation. Onward to Golgotha. I've been listening to so much death metal recently that I'm kind of burnt out on it. I'm getting to that point where a lot of it's kind of just chugs and it's not hitting me like emotionally like I would like it to be. Just listening to too much of it doesn't mean that it's bad or anything. But this record just, I don't know, it's not hitting me the way it should because this is a classic. Like it's huge cavernous death metal, which is cool. And there's lots of great solos, some good hooks. It's got some good stuff going on, but I'm just so burnt out on it that it's not time for me to listen to this record. I don't think like it'll hit me good soon. I'm sure one of these days, put it on, it'll be awesome. But yeah, I've listened to it a bunch of times. It's a good record. It's good. It's like I said, really cavernous. Really good solos on it, and really deep guttural vocals. And that's one other thing that I want to talk about is with a lot of death metal, like especially like the early stuff, like this sound, this like really guttural New York kind of death metal sound was happening at the same time as kind of the stuff that it came from, like the Morbid Angel and the Death and stuff that are just kind of not as guttural. And like it just kind of like this record, because this came out in 91, I think 92, so this record came out at the time when like, you know, just a couple years after like Altars of Madness, and it blows my mind to think that like the next step in death metal was around already. Like this is like the brutal stuff. Like this is like the really low vocals. And I don't know. It's interesting. And this is a great record. I can't even really like tell you what songs I like the best on this record yet, because I kind of take it as like when I put it on, it just kind of becomes this big lump, and it is because it's so cavernous, and I'm not sinking my head into the death metal like I was maybe a couple months ago. Like it's harder for me to just really get into it, and I have records that I'm going to start talking about in this pile to kind of explain where I've kind of gone. So anyway, more death metal to show though before that, and just kind of talk to you about a few of these records because they are good. Okay. Cannibal Corpse came from me in the mail from England. Good stuff. Tomb of the Mutilated and The Bleeding. And these are interesting records to be beside each other in Cannibal Corpse's discography. I really enjoy Cannibal Corpse. Like, I really enjoy it. This is a funny way to listen to them, but I enjoy putting on headphones and reading the lyrics, and especially to the early records. And this one in Butchered at Birth, lyrically are fucked. Like, this is like a step up, I think, musically from this one, but step down lyrically. Like, this record, if you sit down and really pay attention to the lyrics and sit down with the lyric sheet in front of you, it's disgusting. It's like, wow, I can kind of see why people were kind of worried about this shit, but at the same time not, because it's not real. But god damn, it is brutal. Brutal stuff. Yeah, I really like Fuck With A Knife on this one. I like the way they fuck with the vocals. You don't hear like them playing with stuff like that much in Cannibal Corpse, which is kind of cool. Yeah, more Cannibal Corpse. I enjoy it. I like putting it on and going into that disgusting world. Like they're the only band that really, like, if I'm into the music and I'm into those lyrics, like, makes me feel like I'm sitting, like I'm a fly on the wall to those murders, and like some of that stuff is disgusting. Like, and I like Cannibal Corpse when they're talking about murder and violence the most. Like, when they're talking about zombies, I'm like, whatever, zombies. But when they're talking about just like a brutal murder, where they're actually talking about, wow, some of the shit, it's intense. Alright, so moving on. I bought this record because I was, I needed something to listen to and I was getting kind of burnt out. Went down to my local record shop, one of them, and I knew they had this. And it's a really nice package. And I was just like, you know what? Like, this is a cool band. A band I've always liked. I've always had Bloody Kisses on CD. And I've always thought they're a really cool band. Like, not exactly my exact cup of tea, because I mean, obviously Typo is a little bit alt rock. Like, they're like, this is a doom record, but there's definitely alternative rock leanings. Like, it's very 90s sounding. But man, what a lush record. Like, there's quite a lot going on in the instrumentation, long songs. It's not a happy record. It's probably Typo's most serious record, I guess you could say, because there's not a lot of like tongue-in-cheek stuff going on, which they do a lot of on their other records, and they deal a lot with addiction and things like that. Like, there's 3 instrumentals on this record, and one of them deals with dying from lung cancer from smoking, the other one dying from drinking, and the other one is to do with cocaine addiction. And they're all kind of like the vices, and the songs on this are not happy. There's Everyone I Love Is Dead, Who Will Save the Sane, World Coming Down, Everything Dies, All Hallows Eve. It's not a happy record, but really, really good, and a nice stepping away from the chugginess of death metal. And that's one of the things that I find is like one of the things in death metal is there's always a chug. There's always a chug somewhere, and a lot of the more brutal death metal and stuff that I've been digging, its hooks come down to just like brutal chugging and drums. And as much as I love that stuff, I just needed to branch out a little bit to get more emotion out of my music. I've even recently bought a couple records that I'm not going to talk about yet, because I just ordered them a while ago, and they're death metal records, and I have them. There's a couple. I have Morbid Angel and Covenant, and I have Autopsy's Mental Funeral, and I'm not ready to talk about those records yet. I need for them to just kick me in the nuts a little bit more, and they will. I just gotta let that time come. So, wanting to feel more emotion in death metal and not wanting to veer too much out of that realm, I started thinking about this band, and this is a band that I listened to years ago and got rid of all their stuff. I've had all their records. I've had all their records multiple times on multiple formats, and not all their records, not all their clean records. I never thought I'd go there, actually. I thought I was done with Opeth at a certain point after Heritage, but recently I've gone back and I've rebought some of these albums, and I love these albums. This is Opeth, Your Arms, My Arms, Your Hearse. It's a gatefold on Candlelight. I just hate the fucking color it came on. It sucks. The only reason that I can say that I like this color is because it's the Swedish flag colors, right? Blue and yellow. And Opeth's Swedish, so it redeems itself a little bit there. And this record, My Arms, Your Hearse, is like Opeth's, to me, it's Opeth's best. Other people will argue that. I think it's their most metal record. I think they didn't go very proggy on it yet. But there are like the moments, the like ebb and flow kind of where it hits that high, and it's just like, holy shit, man, it's so good, so good. Yeah, like, if you haven't heard this record, even if you've said no to Opeth at one point, give the first 3 songs a spin. Like, listen to Prologue, April, Ethereal, and When, all together. Because, like, that's a fucking trip, man. That's a journey, and I've heard it 1,000 times, and I can put it on and be like, oh, so fucking good. And I start air guitaring and singing and all that shit. So, I've been just buying the Opeth records again. There's Still Life, another fucking banger. It's actually like more emotional, it's hard. It's not really a banger, it's like, it's just really, really good music. Favorite song off this one? Well, Godhead's Lament is amazing, and Face of Melinda. And it's funny, like, I did buy one of the newer Opeth records that don't have his screaming on it anymore, Michael's screaming. And it's grown on me, man. I really like it. Here's another one, though, I bought. Came in the mail the other day. Beautiful packaging from Sony. Blackwater Park. This has a really nice book with it, too, right here. I'll show you that. It's kind of a pointless book. It's got no words in it or anything, and the art's kind of blah, but it's just nice. Yeah, Blackwater Park. Another record that, like, they are proggier on this record, but there's definitely super heavy, dark moments. And they're right in the midst of their great years, right? Like, they're kind of they're right there. So, I mean, this record is just fucking flawless, really. Kick ass. Not my favorite Opeth, that would be My Arms, Your Hearts again, but yeah. I don't see this band get talked about too much anymore, actually. Maybe there's a reason for that, but I've definitely gone back. And this was the one that I bought at a local record store, that the newer Opeth stuff. Because I got curious, and I've been, like, into this, like, idea of prog and listening to not so much King Crimson or anything like that, but this and I don't know, some of the other Opeth records, those moments. And I was wondering, like, are those moments alive and well in the new Opeth, and it's just minus the screaming? And it's not as good. It's not as good as old Opeth. But they're interesting records, man. Like, there's a lot going on sonically. There's some moments that are, like, emotional. And it's just different, something different for me to listen to right now, so I'm enjoying it. And it came with some really nice art. Like, the art on this thing is nice, but it also came with some nice prints with the lyrics on the back. It's cool shit. There's another one here it came with. I like this one more even. It's cool shit. Some of the songs I like off this one, let me tell you. Oh. It does have a weird production. It's a very bassy production. It's like, I don't know, it's weird. I can't say it. Cryalis? That song's good. Strange Brew is good. A Fleeting Glance is good. Good record. And I like the art. And then moving on into this last record. This is a record by a band that had their heyday, and I never hear anybody talk about them anymore. But on this whole Opeth kick and wanting to hear a little more emotion and variety in my death metal. By the way, if you guys have recommendations for that kind of stuff, I'll take them. Like, I have Catatonia records and stuff like that, so I know about that. I'm not a huge fan of later Catatonia, pretty much just really early. But anyway, this is a live record too, and I owned all of this band's stuff. Like, not all of it, but I owned vinyls by this band. And now I look them up on Discogs, and, like, no one has them, and if they do, they're like $100. So I regret getting rid of the records by them, but this is a live record. This is a live record, and I found this at a local shop, and I'm super glad I bought it just to have anything by this band. This is ISIS, and unfortunate name because years later, obviously, there was that ISIS terrorist group or whatever. So it's an unfortunate name for these guys, and they decided years ago that they were just going to do 4 records, and that was it. And they did 4 records, and that was it. And I think they're an emotional behemoth, actually, like, of a band. And I hear nobody talk about them anymore. I've heard in the metal streams recently, some guys have been talking about Neurosis and stuff, and I don't really. How can you talk about Neurosis without talking about ISIS? Like, they're such a cool band. Albums like Panopticon and what was the? Oh shoot, the one that was green before that, the green covered one. Anyway, such a cool band. This is a great record too. It has like a lot of the later material from the 4th album, the 4th and 3rd album by this band, and then they threw in a few from the earlier albums too. And I don't see anything by this band anymore, so I'm really glad I bought it. I don't know if you can read any of this. The packaging is really minimal. But yeah, man, such a cool band. Nobody ever talks about them. The ebb and flow of this band is like, can bring you to tears. Like, and I don't think it's aged badly at all. It could be considered a little cheesier, I guess, because they were using kind of post-rock things, but awesome band. Alright, that's all I have for you now. I'll see you next time, YouTube. Have a good one.